Welcome back to another edition of Laugh Underneath the Podcast. Thank you to our sponsors, One Good One and First Option Mortgage. Thank you so much for your continued support. Today on our show, we got Ana Maria Sanin, good friend of mine and someone I've gotten to know over the past year. She has just started her company called Confident Closers, and she is going to do a deep dive with us on why personal branding is so important to all of us. Have a good show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Laugh Underneath the Podcast. And today we have a very good friend of mine. We are actually students of Christine Beckwith at the same time. She was recently on the cover of the Vision magazine, or Women for Vision magazine. I'm sorry, I should have said that right way, right? So a lot of you guys probably figured out who I got in the studio with me right now. For those who haven't figured it out, I have the wonderful Ana Maria Sanin. Did I get your last name right?
You did.
Yes. That's how you start off a show, man. To me,
How
it's
are
like
you?
with my name, trust me, Fabi Nagmi, I've been called Froggy, Not Me, all sorts of stuff.
I get called sometimes Sanin, or I'm like Sanin or Sanin.
Yeah. That's crazy,
Yeah.
right? With our names and everything, but it's something that I'm really conscious of. So I think it's helpful when we start the show off with the right name pronunciation. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am, you know what's going on.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but
This is about you, Anna, not about me. Forget me. I'm nobody in this. This is about Ana Marie, okay?
okay.
You're down in Florida, right?
Yes, I'm down in beautiful sunny South Florida in Broward County.
Okay, so you're like in the epicenter of this craziness that we're going through right now.
Well, that's down in Dade County. Broward County, Palm Beach County really are not as affected as Dade has been. So it's a little bit different.
So Broward is more south, like Miami, right?
North. So Dade County is all the way south. And I'm about 30 minutes from Dade County, Miami.
So okay, I got it then. So your area has not been like impacted like we hear all. So obviously the news is where we get this information, right? And my wife, by the way, she every morning will tell me the latest numbers in Virginia. Like one day she's like, "Oh my God, we're 1,900." You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, but Florida's like 14,000.
Yeah, no, and there was a day where one day it was like 9,000 people, you know. So yeah, the numbers are outrageous. But with that said, yeah, I mean, Dade County, Miami area, it's really been the most affected. Not that we didn't have high numbers here in Broward County, but nothing compared to Miami, fortunately for us, unfortunately for them, but yeah.
Do you guys have your beaches open still?
Yep.
Wow. So are you brave enough to go out there? Like I'm like a chicken shit.
No, you know what? We can't live in fear. And at the end of the day, we're going, we have to continue with our lives. Obviously, it's the be careful because of other people. So as long as we're taking, the right measurements and implementing, the things that need to, so that we keep our loved ones saved. I mean, but I'll tell you, I mean, I've been working from home since the pandemic and I'm loving it. I don't need to leave my house. I work with my clients remotely and it's amazing. And so, yeah, the only time that I do go out, it's to the beach. I live a mile away from the beach. I have to be by the ocean.
I was in Boca Raton, I think in January.
Okay.
Right before the pandemic hit, actually, right?
Okay.
So and I was totally comfortable walking around. I think I went to Deer Beach. Is it Deerfield Beach?
Deerfield Beach, yeah.
Right, I went there. I went to Boynton Beach, I think.
Yeah.
But it was like absolutely normal.
Yeah.
Like and then also like 30 days later, it was like locking everything down.
Yeah.
So,
it's been I'm 15 minutes away from Deerfield.
Okay, that's a beautiful area. I like that area. Although I think any part in Florida when there's not a pandemic is nice. Especially when you're up here in the north with the wintertime in February and it's like.
Yes, I don't know how you guys do it.
Every year that I get older, I ask myself the same question, like when? When is the migration going to happen, Fab? When? So
as
I'm
soon
getting
as you
ready.
Decide to.
Yeah, thank you. So you just started this Confident Closer company.
Yes.
Right? I like the name, by the way, Confident Closer.
Thank you.
It's for women, right? Now, this is especially geared towards women in the business world.
Yes, it is, specifically in our space.
So our space, meaning the mortgage industry.
Well, anything that has to do with real estate. So
Okay.
realtors, mortgage, insurance, title, finance. I mean, all that has to do within our space. I work with those type of women.
So are there more challenges? I mean, because, look, I mean, working with Christine Beckwith for the past year and a half for myself, right? Knowing Casey Cunningham, knowing a lot of the women in the mortgage business, I'm really accustomed to them being in leadership roles and quite honestly being very dominant.
Yeah.
Right. So when I hear that there's challenges, I'm like, why are they challenging? I mean, like for a guy like me, it's hard for me to fathom. So explain to me, what are the challenges that they were seeing?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to be reminded that there's many of us in the world, right? I think there's like 9 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
I think it's 6, not 9. But
7.2
anyhow,
billion.
we're
7.2.
there.
Yeah.
But with that said, it doesn't matter, to your point, women like Christine, like myself and many other women out there who are leaders who have those executive roles. We still all are made from the same. We're still all come from the same foundation. Therefore, emotions, insecurities, sometimes really losing your entire interest, driven type A personality women, they go so hard to reach their goals and to get there and, to do what it has to get done. But then once they get there, it's like, this doesn't fulfill me anymore. How do I make this exciting again? And so I personally, like I say, I work specifically with women of faith in real estate space. We just covered what all that means, who want to create a personal brand, generate influence or create influence and generate more opportunities and sales. And so with that said, yes, there's always, we're always evolving. It doesn't matter how successful we are. It doesn't matter what role we're in as women, as humans. We're always evolving and growing, and things change, and we have emotions, and it's like a roller coaster, and we go up and down, and, we're exposed to bigger challenges. And so it requires any of us.
Has your definition of success changed over the years? Because you use the word success there, you know what I mean? And for me, I've always wondered about that, right? Like,
so my definition of, and you know what, success is dependent on each individual's perception or, definition of it. For me, success, it's being able to be within my purpose and do what I love. Being able to find that space and being able to be in my genius zone, I would call it, that to me is success.
So what happens, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan and did his Tony Robbins back in, I hate to say, like 96, 97. Okay. But anyway.
Okay, dude, you need to go back.
It really helped me a lot, by the way, because it really took my career to the next level after I did his, those 3 days with him. And one of the things that I always remember from that course is that success has many definitions. It's just not one, you know what I mean? But failure always has that one definition, like you failed because you didn't meet your end result. You know what I mean? Right. No matter who you are, that failure. So is it the same for you? Like, is failure still defined as something maybe you don't hit your genius zone, or you don't feel as comfortable inside your skin, or what does that mean like then?
So I can tell you so the word failure to me, I've learned throughout the years as I have, jumped and failed and jumped and failed. The way I really look at the word failure, it's an it's an experience learned. I'm actually building on experiences and or also on wisdom, right? Because if it wasn't for that failure, right, I wouldn't know what I know now. Right. And I can't use that. And if I didn't fail, I wouldn't be able to use that knowledge in my next move.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes
No,
sense.
it does, because my thing, and this is interesting because I really haven't talked about this, but for me, I feel like in 23 years, I have developed into like almost where I welcome failure. Like if I'm failing, it's because I tried,
Yep.
right? And as long as I tried and I failed, then I know what I did wrong. I don't have to repeat that mistake.
Yep.
But if I just sit here in my house and say, "Oh my God, the world is scary," like we're talking about, and I don't want to try this, or I don't want to put my picture of my dog on LinkedIn because somebody may get mad at me or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that point, Fabi, like, my mission, the Confident Closers mission, really is to lower the number of women who reach their deathbed regretting the things that they didn't do because
Wow.
of fear or lack of courage.
Okay.
And I say women, well, number one, because I'm a lady myself,
Mhm.
and obviously I work specifically with women only, me directly, of course. Okay. So my agency works with everybody, but Ana Maria works with ladies.
You're talking about
But with
third person now. You're scaring me. When we start talking about third person, man, it's 'cause you got to come check in.
yeah. But the statistics show that women take longer in their later years. They reach their full confidence in later years than men do. Men normally reach their full, or let's say, top confidence level for that for the time in their 30s, even late 20s.
Hmm.
Women, on the other hand, don't reach that level till they're almost 50 or so.
Wow.
And those are a lot of years wasted if we had a community around us, if we had a space where women are able to relate to one another, because they now realize that they're not the only ones going through something, right? And no matter what level of success you get to, this is not something that's going to go away. We're always going to be, as long as we continue to grow and to raise the bar and to move forward, there's always going to be that unknown area, right? Because we're walking into new ground.
Hmm.
And so as we're walking and elevating ourselves into new ground, I believe that we need a support system, and being able to build a community, a tribe of women who are authentic and who are willing to share, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are, what you have, how much title is under you, you still have to deal with it, right? And if we can help the next woman coming up, why not? And so that's what Confident Closers, the podcast that I personally have, is about.
So the name Confident Closer, obviously you came up with it. Like
So
I can use
yes,
laughing and eat, right? Because obviously that resembles my personality. Love laughing, mortgages, and then I love
yeah.
eating, right? So how did Confident Closer come out?
So I love this story. I didn't come up with it on my own, but if you remember, we saw each other last year at the Women's with Vision event, and I was one of the Women with Vision award winners for 2019. And so Jessica Peterson was also one of them. She was there, and she's a real estate agent, author, and coach as well. And so anyhow, we connected, and we had already connected online, but we met for the first time in person. So
That's
we just started
beautiful.
talking. I started sharing with her my passion, my calling, what I was doing, like my journey, where I was going. And I don't know, out of that conversation, she came up with Confident Closers. And I'm like, no way. Number one, I've dealt with my with me, with the inner me of not being confident enough, or not good enough, or not prepared enough, or not, all this things throughout my life. And I'm not a closer,
Hmm.
meaning I have everything that a salesperson needs, as far as the charisma, the conversation, getting started, getting people engaged, getting people to go. But once they're ready to go, you better take that person, because I ain't closing them.
Oh wow.
But that's in sales. However, see, I'm a starter. And so the brand really resonated with me because it's not about me. It's about the community that I'm building and the women that I work with,
Mhm.
and the women that are calling for my, calling me into their journey.
Mhm.
They are closers. They
Okay.
are badass at what they do. Now, I am their support system. I sit right next to them from a marketing and a branding, management and strategy.
Got it.
So they got the closing. I
Mhm.
got everything else.
Yeah.
So we're all a group of confident closers.
Got it. Okay. This is really weird then, because your famous quote that I really picked up on while researching for this interview, right? That really stuck out to me is you said, quote, "You're always selling."
I said that.
Yeah, on your podcast, on your very first episode, you said even you sell your husband, you sell to somebody, but
Oh, that's true. No, no, no. Okay, no. I'm talking at it from our business. Yeah,
right.
from a sales standpoint in our industry, that's what I said. I'm not. But however, yes,
But
the word closers.
but you didn't say closing. So now it kind of makes sense, because you're always, like you just said, like you literally
We're
just said,
always closing.
yeah, you're always selling. You're always out there selling, and then you needed somebody, I guess, for that whole confident
I guess
closing.
let me rephrase this: hard closings, hard sales. Like, but we, at the end of the day, we are all closers. We all close.
Do you
We're
think
always selling ourselves. We're always, trying to get what we want. Therefore, we're closing on what we want.
do you think that women have a harder time closing? Pause, huh?
Huh? I
Because
don't think it has anything to do with the gender.
yeah, I've always viewed women as really amazing salespeople. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know previously in my old company, the number one person in my division was this woman that I worked for several years.
Yeah.
She was fierce and she was a badass. And I was like, I need you to go to. And she's like, no, I don't want any more. This is as much as I'm going to do. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, if you look at statistics, I mean, companies that are doing very well today, I can't give you names, but I have research if you guys want to. I mean, their women are in the CEO roles. They're running these companies. And yes, as women, I believe, and statistically speaking, women are great at
Yeah.
sales.
Okay.
And especially once once they're able to own, like, this is the thing. And I think this is what makes sense. Since I am in my genius zone right now and I'm doing what I love,
Mhm.
I'm never selling.
Okay.
I am always, I don't sell. I am always connecting and really giving people, helping them bring their visions to life. And that's exactly what I do. So because I'm in my genius, I'm the best closer.
Okay. All right. I like
Okay. And so that's the one thing that as women, we try to force ourselves to do something because it's what it is. And if we can't, when things are being forced and are pushed,
Mhm.
it's harder for us to really show up and to really give it our all.
I think people
Right?
also recognize when people are being fake.
Yes.
Right? You can always
Yes.
like pick up on that, like, oh my God, like I don't want to be around that person. Like something just,
Yes.
and I really got more in tune with vibrations as a human being. And I used to think it was a crock of shit in the old days, right? But now, like, I understand, like, there's actual vibrations that humans send off to each other, and that's where the connections occur.
A
I had
hundred
no idea
percent.
it was like that. You know what I mean?
I
But
mean, we
that's
live in a world that's, yeah, I mean, everything is energy. What makes
right.
us think that there is an energy coming out of us, and the energy, it all attracts. So that's really, I mean, it's, yeah.
Do you think that opening your own company in the middle of where we're in a lockdown had any effect on you? Or, I mean, was it like, could you wait another year?
No, actually, it was because of this that I opened my company, because it was perfect timing.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
yes,
Talk to me. Tell me what I mean, because I mean, someone would have said no, not yet, right? But you just dove in.
yes, absolutely. This was, during a crisis, there's always an opportunity,
Okay.
right? And I believe that, um, I believe that COVID, or whatever,
Mhm.
on a higher, just from a higher angle looking down, and um, we are in the middle of, we're closing an era Okay.
Mhm.
And COVID, whether it was whatever it was, whether it
Sure.
was planned by higher powers, people here, whatever, I don't know. But the
Mhm.
point is that it's not only has it COVID has a purpose here. And the purpose, what I'm seeing, I don't know if you agree with me, but our industry or the financial space, it has been extremely outdated when it comes to technology, when
Mhm.
it comes to utilizing the new way of connecting, when it comes to, the new way of marketing, the new way of putting yourself out there. And that has a lot to do also with the age range in our industry, right?
Right.
Now, that's evolving right now, right? And so the new generation, the millennials, the Gen Z, we were raised with the technology. And so although this our industry was still very outdated, I mean, when I started 4.5 years ago in our industry,
Mhm.
it blew my mind how so many things that are common, in the speaking space, entrepreneurs, and like that, it was just like another language.
Mhm.
So with that said, COVID right now, what is doing, you see, how do we change the mindset of an entire world,
Mm.
right? As we want to transition, let's say, to the Jetsons era, right? Because I really believe that we're opening the door for that new phase where we're going to start seeing robots, where we're going to start seeing, instead of human doing things, the robot is going to be doing it. We're really going to start seeing that. And the only way I see it right now, the
Mhm.
way possible to do that, well, with COVID, because it's affected people personally and worldwide. People now, it's a way of start injecting technology and telling people why and why and why. And just like 50, 60, 80 years ago, I don't know, if you didn't know how to read, you were illiterate
Mhm.
because there was a new era that was starting, right? And that's where, our parents in the 70s who were born, or 60s, whatever, even 40s, but that if you didn't know how to read, if you didn't, you were illiterate. Today, as we continue to move forward, like, I don't believe we're going back to normal.
Do you,
There is a new normal. And
so
as we continue to move forward,
Mhm.
if you are not tech savvy, or if you're not with a brand online, if you're not talking to your audience directly, if you're not niching down,
Mhm.
if you're not doing all that, you're going to become illiterate.
So in other words, what you're saying is, I mean, for me, what I'm hearing, right, is we have artificial intelligence being implemented in multiple industries, including our own, the mortgage industry, right?
Yeah.
So more and more AI is being utilized, and people may or may not realize it. That's fine, right? What happens to the people who don't make the cut is what I always worry about, right? So to me, right, because I mean, I can tell you a story that my father-in-law told me from India from 1930, 1935. They didn't have electricity, and they had these guys with the fans to keep everybody cool. And they didn't want to run electricity into the house even though electricity was available, because they said, what's going to happen to these guys who have a job to put the fans on, you know what I mean? To flip
Uh-huh.
the fans.
They need to reinvent themselves.
Right. So is that what you're saying? I mean, people have to reinvent themselves when the jobs become obsolete. They have to find a
I
new
believe
industry.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is my thought. And so with that said, I things were great at PRMG before I left, but really it was the opportunity. Again, this has been 10 years in the making, guys, of like me figuring out how is it that I'm going to serve women? How is it that I'm gonna, what am I gonna build to get in
Mhm.
front of women? And so it's been a trial and error. So I'm serious. It's been 10 years in the making.
Wow.
When I started our industry, at that moment, I said, you know what, God, I'll surrender. I know I'm not giving up on my dream. This might not be right now. I will surrender. And then once I surrendered, this opportunity came about. And it's been a blessing, meaning this opportunity of entering our, the mortgage industry. And it was a blessing because I built an audience. In a space that's very lucrative, that needs my talents, and that I've gained the trust, and
Yeah.
I've created the brand around myself and generated the influence, which is exactly what I realized that my calling is to do with women here.
How does branding affect, I mean, if I'm looking at AI, right? So, I mean, you open up a really good topic here. With artificial intelligence, I mean, does AI, I mean, does branding is required as much? Because I mean, obviously, we have a robot who's doing mortgages, let's say, right? So I'm replaced by a robot, which please do it one day. Get me out of here.
Of course, that company that's using robots, they need to have a brand.
Right. So
They need to be known. They need to have a presence. They need to have brand awareness. People need to know about them.
But is it more important now for individual mortgage realtors, sales professionals to have their own brand and not be identified by their corporate brand?
Oh my gosh, that's 10 years ago. That's how it should be. Yes. That is the point, because people do business.
They want you to push their brand, right?
I'm sorry?
Most companies want you to push their brand, their corporate image.
Yes, and that's the mindset. That's the old mindset. Because so as a matter of fact, the first team that I ever branded in our industry was inside PRMG. And it was the first team that they ever allowed to position themselves as the mortgage chicks at PRMG, right? And so I actually broke that ceiling here in the industry. I said, and so it was through that team and that they allowed that. And so, I mean, let's just think about this for a minute, and let's just use psychology and marketing 101.
Okay.
We're emotional beings. Okay. We don't act on more, not so much on a dollar, but we act more on how we feel. If we feel, if whatever that is, it doesn't matter how much it costs, it makes us feel in a certain way, we invest the money, period. We go buy it. I mean, women feel absolutely beautiful and gorgeous wearing red stilettos or whatever, and so red bottoms. So then they go spend $700, $800, $1,000 because it's how they feel. It makes them feel good. So that's not a lot of money. We get Botox because it makes us feel good, right? So with that said, people do business.
I can't let my wife hear this conversation.
Huh?
I'm going to edit this part out for my wife.
But it's the emotion, and that's what we do with all of it. How do you think, like, all these brands like Target speaks to a specific audience? It's how you feel. It's the experience shopping at Target.
Target versus Walmart. Same items, but different feel inside the store.
It's a different experience.
Right?
People go for the experience. It's like Starbucks. Why do people rather pay $4 for a coffee at Starbucks versus Dunkin'? Because of the experience. Right? It's the experience that we get. And when we have the experience, money's never an issue.
Okay.
If we're being sold on the experience. So back to my point is, we're emotional beings, and we do business with people we know, like, and trust. And we look to identify ourselves with people and things, because if we can't find that, then I can't find the emotion psychologically. Because this all happens without us even knowing. If I'm not connecting with you, then there isn't something psychological or emotionally happening for me to really value you, because now I have a connection, right? And so for people to be able to have a connection with, let's say, PRMG, that's very hard. That's a company. That's not a human. How can I connect with a company, right? Unless now they have their marketing around their people. They have, their costs. They have different stuff. That's how they do that. However, that's a longer route to take to get to your ROI. So with individuals, when they're branding themselves and they have a brand and people are able, so if you have an employee or you have an employee and let's stick with PRMG. So PRMG is there's an employee, there's a realtor, a loan officer. Now he's under a branch. If this loan officer is able to build a brand around himself, who he is, what he cares for, what he does, and he's really speaking to his audience directly, authentically, he's going to attract tons of people. And guess what? The umbrella, the branch, who benefits? The branch. Why do you care who's branding, who's what? Don't you want the business here anyhow? So as a company, you take care of your people, because as long as you take care of them, they're going to stick with you, and then they're going to, from their brand, they're going to be attracting. You just take care of your people.
But then you take someone like a Rocket Mortgage, right? That does have a huge brand.
Yep.
Spend gazillion dollars every year on this, right?
Yep.
I don't know any particular quote unquote loan officer from Rocket Mortgage. I know they're there.
Well, Rocket Mortgage sells emotions, sells experiences. You look at so Rocket Mortgage has got it packed down. They are a company who have adopted branding and marketing from a very early age, when other companies and people were doing it, because they understand marketing. Marketing, it's psychological. That's all it is. You have to really understand the human, and you have to understand how we think and how we make decisions. And so Rocket Mortgage sells an experience, and you see the people, and so you're able to engage with that experience.
You don't have to understand all the humans. You have to only understand the human that you want coming to your store per se.
Exactly.
Right? Like this is the group that I'm looking for, 35 to 45 or whatever, and should be in the income bracket, and so let's figure out what they're attracted to. So you don't have to do the whole spectrum. Right.
From you on your own, yes. But that's why it's so, a marketer or a branding, one thing is a designer is somebody who's going to, go design something for you. But when we're talking about marketing or branding, strategizing, that's why we do what we do, because we understand human beings. We understand patterns of the humans. We understand, and so if you're able to identify your niche, your avatar, your audience, then someone like myself, right, or anybody in my space would come and say, hey, so I'm moving you more towards my camera so that I'm not looking sideways. So, so it's that's why you hire us. It's not, that's why we do what we do.
Strategy. It's like you're creating the brand strategy. And to me, what I've always kind of said is, look, there's two ways to accomplish a goal. Either you create the brand strategy and then you build a company towards that brand strategy, or you build a company and the brand strategy brand is going to be built by whether you like it or not.
Right.
I mean, so it's two directions. I prefer knowing the brand and then building the company around and going towards that brand.
100%, because otherwise you're competing with everybody else. If you don't have a unique selling proposition in a market where everybody's doing the same, or if you're opening another coffee shop or another, when there's 1,000 of them, why should I go to your coffee shop? Like, what's your brand story? And so what we do is it's understand your vision and then being able to bring that vision to life. And just like business planning, just like anything, we got to start from the end first, right? So that we can then start taking steps. We have to map out toward the end so that now we can start taking steps towards that. So
somewhere in our conversation, you used the word influence. And I know that we hear the word influencer, and what is an influencer? I mean, like a guy like me who's, I don't want to get my age, but who's older, what is an influencer? I mean, how do you get that title? Who decides who's an influencer?
Well, so you see, we are all always influencing. We're always influencing people to come do business with us. We're influencing them into liking something. We're influencing them into buying. We're influencing them into trying. So really, an influencer is just someone who stands behind an industry, a product, or a service, and is able to share and to build a space so that others can know about it, right? And buy it, or So I mean, an influencer is just
it sounds like such an odd name. Like, hey, he's an influencer on Instagram, or I'm like, I don't get it.
He influences people's decisions.
Oh, okay. So the decision-making process is influenced.
Of course, you're influencing how people take the next step. You influence what people buy and what they don't. You're influencing on making a difference. You're influencing your community. So when you position yourself as a leader within your space, you are the influencer to that community because they look up to you. You've positioned yourself. You have the knowledge, and then not only that, but you have the charisma and you have, or the desire or the open doors, then also to serve that community. So an influencer needs to have a servant heart, number
So,
one.
so I mean, it's not the number of followers then, because I mean, I always thought like you gotta have like a gazillion followers or something, and then you become an influencer. No, just
Yeah. I
okay.
mean, look at Bobby. Like I said, I've only been in this industry for 4.5 years.
Hmm.
And because of the platforms and the influence that I created around myself, and the success that I had with the first branding team and whatnot, it was the influence that I created through the relationships and the platforms that I put out, and how it was serving the community that I've gained. And I left corporate in our industry at a C-level executive role. And I had no idea about anything about mortgage or real estate or insurance. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, let me just go do what I know. And you all do what you're best. I'll do what I know. And that's it. And that's exactly what I did. And we get caught up in the word influencer, but I guess we need to start realizing the power
Hmm.
behind positioning yourself as a leader and an influencer in a specific area.
It's interesting because John Maxwell, the author and the motivational speaker and coach and all that stuff, in his book, he writes that a leader is nothing more than someone who can influence someone else. And I'm
Amen. That's
paraphrasing.
it.
So we're really talking about leadership.
Yep.
That's really what an influencer is the
Yep.
ability to lead, the ability to have people, I mean, change their decisions or whatever.
I love that. 100%. That is the answer.
Well, John Maxwell, he's one of those greatest people I've come
He
across.
is amazing.
Hmm.
He's also a believer, so I love him.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, not only in the past like 90, 120 days, but I mean, like some challenge that you knew that was really holding you back, and you're like, once you got over it, you saw the world differently.
Well, the biggest challenge was myself. And I don't know what you guys were doing at the age of 13, but I personally was taking a pregnancy test.
Oh wow.
Not at 13, sorry, 14. Let me
Hmm.
not make that. But
Oh,
still, wow.
yeah,
Right. So I felt that I'm originally from Colombia. And so when I came to this country, I felt like I had been taken out of my space. I mean, like back in Colombia, we lived very well, and now all of a sudden everything just shifted.
yeah.
It was like the opposite. It was like, whoa, what happened here? And now I find myself in a country where I don't know the language. I'm being made fun of. We moved, I don't know how many times within like 2 or 3 years.
Mm.
I'm being bullied, and my parents are not giving me the attention. They're not there. They're not what I know. It's my mother now is, never really worked a day in her life because she needed to, only because she wanted to.
Mhm.
And now here she finds herself, working as a waitress, doing all these jobs that in other countries, you look at them like, it's not the norm. Or so anyhow, with that said, my entire life, since I was 15 years old that I gave birth to my son. He's 22 years old today, and he's a
Wow.
Marine. So I'm a
Hey,
proud
when's his
mom.
birthday?
My son, no, not today. His
Oh,
birthday's December 2nd.
got
But
it.
he's a Marine. He's 22 years old. He's a Marine, and yeah, and I love my son. I'm so proud of him. But my whole life was a struggle, from a teenage age, because of the choices that I made, and
Mhm.
because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so it wasn't until about 10 years ago. I have two kids. I was really involved in I was a rebellious child, from drugs to alcohol to whatever. Um, and when I had a spiritual encounter in my
Mhm.
life 10 years ago, um, I realized that everything I was always looking for was always within.
Oh wow.
My self-worth, my identity, my purpose, everything was all within. And so it was at that time when I knew what I was worth and where I belonged, that my past was actually a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
because now I have this past, thanks to God's grace, I have been safe, because of the things that I exposed myself to because of the path that I was taking. And and it was that journey, and what I could see then, that was my passion, that was my calling, that was, that I knew then that, oh my gosh, I have to go let the world know. And because I know what it feels to
Mm-hmm.
not have money. I know what it feels to not feel loved. I know what it feels to be rejected. I know what it feels not being good enough, being insecure, and showing up in a way that's really not you, and people getting the wrong message because you're putting up a front, because you're, and that all is because internally there's a conversation going on of, you're not good enough, you're not da 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 da, you're not this, you're not that. And so when I found the freedom, of when I found life, basically, when I found true life,
Mm-hmm.
um, everything changed. But it wasn't easy, because I'm telling you, it's been 10 years in the making. And so it's been walk, hit myself on the wall, and then go again. And because I'm also rebellious, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go find out for myself. I'm not gonna do what you tell me. I'm gonna go find out.
Well, listen, I mean, the majority of us on this planet are built exactly the same way. There's not much difference. You know what I mean? There's very few people who will actually listen to somebody else and say, okay, you know what? I won't take that road I'm on and I'll change the path. Not until that road actually just puts a big crater down there.
Yeah.
You define yourself as a person of faith. So is this where the faith comes from, that 10 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes so much sense now. Okay.
Yes, that is that. If it wasn't for that faith, if it wasn't for my relationship with God, if it wasn't this person here, wouldn't be. If
Yeah.
it wasn't, in my confidence, my drive, my courage, my vision, my half full mindset, all that comes from within, from my relationship, because my trust is not in me. My trust is in my higher power, in Jesus
Mm-hmm.
Christ for me. And so I just walk. Now, I'm a rebellious child, and I like to do things my way. And so then when, I go here and I go there, and, and things happen. But at the end of the day, when I'm walking in alignment and I'm putting God first, I am much more confident than I could ever be, because the confidence is not coming from Ana Maria. It comes from my spiritual source.
So the definition of a person of faith for you, like if
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, Ana Maria, define me a person of faith, what does that look like?
A person of faith is somebody who, and I made it because it's not about being a Christian or being this or being that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having a relationship or having a connection with your spiritual self, right? Or, in your beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
and having the essentials that person has. And so I said, when I talk about, a person of faith, someone who has a servant heart, someone who understands that you have to give to receive, someone who has a bigger purpose, someone who knows that, their purpose is more than what being successful, I
Okay.
don't know, or reaching
Yeah.
their level of in their career. Like,
In other
there's
words,
gotta be.
it's not about them. It's about the whole picture,
Exactly.
right? 'Cause I think sometimes people do. I'm so glad you said what you said, because sometimes people do, at least from my perception, being a Muslim, right, is that people do seem to think that a person of faith is only that, a Christian.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to tell people, no, I have a lot of faith myself. Person of faith can be anybody, any
Yeah.
creed whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, Someone said that faith and fear can't reside together,
Amen.
right? Like if you
Yeah.
have faith, you shouldn't have any fear, and if you have fear, then
It's like water and oil. They can't
right.
mix.
I seem to think that they both reside perfectly, and Carl White actually talked about this in Damba last year in Atlanta. I don't know if you were there or not. And he said, faith and fear live together. It's just that when you're in fear, you still keep moving forward because you have that faith. So you can be fearful, but you know that you got to keep moving.
Well, I agree with that. That is 100%. But see, I guess when I'm thinking of if you are in fear and paralyzed, there is no faith.
And you're not moving forward. So
You're not moving, you're not doing, so you're paralyzed. Now, when you have faith, that doesn't mean that I'm never fearful. Oh my gosh. I mean, during a pandemic, I had this calling. I knew this was the time. God was putting the people in place, the opportunities. I mean, everything was just going on its own. I decided to let go of my salary, commissions, overrides, all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I don't, anyhow, my purpose is not just that. Yes, I love money. Yes, I like luxury. Yes, all this and that. But if I'm not in purpose and doing what I love, then that's not my life. Like, my life is not just to do and get money and do and how, like, for me, it was more than that. So yeah, with fear, a lot of fear, but faith in God, right? Faith in me in Jesus. That is what held me. And believe me, today I cling onto his legs, and I'm clinging onto him of like, hey, you got me. But it's fear with action. It's fear with faith. It's a fear because fear are just receptors of our subconscious mind trying to protect us. They're just stop signs.
Right.
So,
Delilah, right? My buddy.
Yes, of course.
And so
I love her.
We were in Chicago, and I have to pray 5 times a day. And so she's like walking around asking the people where I could go pray in Spanish, right? And all I heard was, no papa Dios.
What is that? No papa Dios.
She's telling the guy that he's not Christian, but he's still got to pray.
Oh, no papa Dios. Got it.
So that's like a little hashtag to each other. Whenever we're like, it's like we hashtag no papa Dios to each other,
That's funny.
All right, look, we are coming to the end here because we did this conversation went really quick for me, so I appreciate that. There was a huge question I got to ask you because this was like the driving question I had, right? You actually have been to Hacienda Napales.
Yes.
About his house.
I was like, what? Yeah, damn, you did some research.
I told you. Yes.
You went like down on my pictures, albums. You don't
understand. But I saw that. I think it popped up on Facebook one time. I was like, she's been to Hacienda Napales? Obviously, Pablo Escobar, the legend. People who don't know what Hacienda Napales is Pablo Escobar's house. I think it's a hotel now.
Where he got arrested, I think it was, or killed or whatever.
No.
He didn't get killed there, but something happened there.
He left it abandoned, and he actually got killed in one of the towns in Colombia.
In Medellin, he did. No, but in that house there was I don't know if they show how his whole cars got burned down.
They happened. I mean,
so the car collection is still there, burned down.
You got to see all that?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And you walk into the house, and you go into the stables, and you get to see like all the people that he killed and whoever did this and did that. And then they made a park out of it. And so also he used to have all sorts of animals. He had his own zoo.
Yeah, flamingos, hippopotamus. Yeah.
They also take you through where, because he would skate. And so the back roads that he would take on the 4-wheelers whenever they would come, like they took us through that whole area. Like, yeah.
Did you grow up near that? I mean, as a kid?
I did. So I grew up until I was 8 years old. I was in Colombia. And actually we used to visit one of his farms when I was little. He had also some exotic animals there. He had a farm near one of my family's.
Did you find any money that you tucked away?
No, but as a matter of fact, one of my aunts, she got paid back a lot of money that she landed with a ranch. Oh, wow. And a lot of people come there because they believe that there's money buried under, in her land. And so, I mean, anything is possible, honestly.
Wow. that was like, when I saw that, I was like, I got to find out how that was like, because I've always wanted to go there, you know what I mean? But I don't know, like, if I'll ever make it there. But, the fact that you were there is good enough sometimes for me. But eventually I'm going to get there, I think. So
let me know. We'll make a trip.
We'll see what happens. But Ana Maria, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was wonderful getting to know you even better and getting your input. And I mean, it sounds like you're on a wonderful path. I think you're going to be amazing in the next, I mean, whatever you put your mind to, I think it's going to be amazing anyway. So thank you so much, and have a good day. Be safe out there, okay? Take care, guys. That was just an amazing episode for me. I so appreciated Ana Maria Sanin's honesty and her sincerity, her desire to do better for other people. I hope that her light continues to shine as bright as all for everybody to see. So thank you so much for being on our show. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you to our sponsors, First Option Mortgage and One Good One. And thank you so much to our listeners for their continued support as well. We hope you are enjoying these podcast episodes. Continue sending us your text, your emails, and please continue to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Take care.